and welcome to another episode of Bleeding Cool Chatter. My name is Caitlin Booth, and I am the head film writer here at Bleeding Cool. And we are doing something a little bit different today. Now, we are a comic book site, and we haven't really focused on comics in our chatter episodes yet because we just haven't had the people on who actually are able to keep up with comics. That is changing today. I am joined by Jeremy.
Hello.
What do you do, Jeremy?
I am the collectibles editor for Bleeding Cool.
And first time on the show is Josh.
Hello.
Josh, what do you do?
Chronicle the mistakes on a week-by-week basis of Marvel and DC Comics.
Nice.
Also known as the reviews editor.
So, we're kind of testing this out a little bit. We want to have a comic book-based show, but it won't be one hosted by me because I don't have time to read comics. I barely have time to see all the movies. So, these next 2 weeks, we're going to be doing 2 episodes, one today and one probably next week, where we get these guys used to the format and how we're gonna how to host and all that stuff. But these next 2 episodes are also just basically going to be Jeremy and Josh. You need to convince me that I need to start reading comic books again because I haven't read a comic in probably a year and a half. That's how long it's been.
I can't even imagine that.
I know. So which one of you guys would like to go first in trying to convince me to read comics?
Okay. Well, should we start with Marvel or DC?
Well, if we're going to convince her to read comics, I think we should actually start with the best foot forward. And this week, for me, that was almost certainly the Swamp Thing Winter Special.
Absolutely.
Whoa.
Can you give a brief summary about what's going on in it, without being too spoilery?
Well, the titular Swamp Thing, get to use that word, I feel very sophisticated, is trying to save a child from a blizzard that is being caused by some mysterious snow monster. And it's actually, that's the first story. There's a second story, which is actually more of a homage to the late Lin Wein and Bernie Wrightson, where they published a script and the renderings, the art for the script of a Swamp Thing comic that never got to be published because it was because Lin Wein passed before they could actually do the lettering and coalesce the comic, if that's a verb.
All right. So, are we starting worst to best or best to worst?
This would be best.
Oh, yeah.
Best? Okay. So, I have never read a Swamp Thing comic in my life. I know absolutely nothing about this character. Sell me on this comic and this character. Go. One or the other.
In terms of the character, yeah, I'll let Jeremy lead there.
Basically, Swamp Thing is one of the monsters in the DC universe, and he's got a heart of gold because he was turned into the Swamp Thing by a failed science experiment. And think of him as the ultimate environmentalist. And you see that a lot in this comic. He uses the environment.
He's a PG version of the Toxic Avenger?
He came way before the Toxic Avenger.
Well, he's like a PG version because Toxic Avenger is way too R.
Yes, you could say that. But, I mean, there are some moments of violence in the comic.
Okay.
Not like PG specifically. I'd say it's more like PG-13.
Okay.
He uses the environment to his advantage in this comic a lot. It's been a while since we've seen, especially, was it in this comic or was it in Young Monsters in Love this week where he rode a lily pad like a surfboard?
Oh, that was that was...
Was it the other one? Okay. But anyway, and it's a really sweet, heartbreaking story about Swamp Thing trying to rescue this child and fighting the elements, and it's written by Tom King. And he's also the scribe of Batman that we're going to be talking about right now. He's in the middle of a pretty epic run on Batman. Jason Fabok is the artist. If you like detailed artwork with a lot of inking and just hyper realistic visuals, then you will really like this comic. And like Josh said, there's a really nice tribute to Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson in the back, because they were the ones who created Swamp Thing. So it's worth the $8. It's an 80-page giant for $8. You get basically 10 pages per dollar. There's no ads, so it's pretty great.
It was actually in this comic where he uses the lily pads. It was the Len Wein. Is it Wayne or Wine?
Kelly Jones, who did a lot of the '90s Batman artwork, where he was like the vampire bat and everything. He does the art in the Len Wein story in the end.
I can see that art style applying better to a character like Swamp Thing, who's already pretty weird looking, than a character like Batman, who's essentially supposed to be a human being.
Yeah, but I mean, if we're going best to worst, I mean, it's a classic '70s horror superhero comic. If you're in a gothic style storytelling, it's perfect for you.
Well, you guys have seen me on this show. Have you seen me wear very many colors besides black?
Yes.
Not that often. Most of the time I'm wearing black. I blending in with my computer chair. So I do like me some gothic stuff. That's always fun. Got anything to add, Josh?
Sorry, one sec. My feed's it's frozen for some reason. Oh well.
Still fine on our end.
Oh, I guess that's all that really matters. There's the story's bookended oddly by the King story is bookended by like a radio show talking about American football, which was kind of it was like, at first you're kind of wondering, why is this here? And of course it kind of pulls it together in the end. But I really liked it because it was just like this weird kind of like dry humor attached to it that made the story just that little bit much darker in a way.
As someone who has never read Swamp Thing, is this something that I could pick up and enjoy?
Yes.
Oh yeah, it's mostly independent of like any, DC Rebirth, DC, Dark Knight's Metal, or any real tie-in story.
Okay. Awesome. What's next?